Hello, Pod Fam. It's been a little while.
Hi. If you guys forgot, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Laura.
Welcome back. Sorry, it's been like probably a month since we recorded our last episode.
Yeah, probably about that.
Maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah, maybe 6 weeks.
Somewhere.
I know we've posted a few replays, encore episodes,
Yeah.
just to kind of fill the gap.
hmm
But as you'll learn in this episode, it's been kind of crazy lately.
A lot has been happening, but we're on the other side. But
Yes,
not
yes, it's
really,
getting
but
better.
sort of.
Yes,
Sort of.
we're
Like we're
dealing. We're
hoping,
dealing well.
are we?
Sure. Some days depends.
Maybe, maybe. But anyway, I'm gonna just skip over our interlude because that's kind of what this whole episode is about. So, what tea are you having?
All right, so tonight I'm having a nice Amaretto Rooibos. It's nice and
Oh,
smooth. We had
oh,
homemade pad thai for dinner.
nice.
Um, it's
From
not,
your little recipe book?
no, not the recipe book one.
Oh,
This
okay.
was Epicure. So Epicure, if you guys haven't heard about it before, is this like awesome kind of like I'm gonna call it like a catalog company. Hope you
hmm
guys know what I mean by that. And it's like this like one pack meal and you just follow the directions, add the ingredients, and this one was for pad thai. So it was pretty simple. It was like a chicken and soy sauce, a couple eggs, and then you stir fried it all up together with some rice noodles
Nice.
with a little lime on top. So yeah, it was pretty good. It was a hit. Not like it still doesn't like compare
hmm
when you're going out for really good pad thai.
Yeah.
But for making it at home, I was like, you know what? This ain't half bad. It tastes really good.
So, like, where did you get the rice noodles? Like, is it just like those little like angel hair noodles, or did you have you found like actual rice noodles? Because I can't find them anywhere.
I have not found them in, okay, I don't have the package in front of me or close to me right now, but it's the vermicelli
hmm
noodles. And I found the ones, they're not like the giant, endless like loop of them. These
hmm
ones were the little nests. And I just found that like easier to portion off
hmm
because each one was like a small handful. So I did like, I think I made 5 or 6 of them because the recipe itself is like a 4 to 6 servings, like in like big servings.
hmm
So yeah, that kind of gave me like more than enough noodles to work
hmm
with. And I find sometimes the ones that are really long, you have
hmm
to like break them apart. They take forever to use up. So yeah, I kind of went with the smaller package of the nests and it still turned out pretty good. I would like to find the actual rice noodles, but they're hard to find in our
They
grocery
really
stores.
are. I can't, I've never been able to find them.
Yeah, I've been able to find egg noodles, everything else, but not rice noodles. So I don't
hmm
know. I don't know. I have to try new grocery stores.
hmm Yeah. Well, I'm having peppermint tea.
Ah, classic.
Yes. And sorry, guys, if you hear me coughing a little bit. One of the things that has been going on is I've been getting over a cold that's lasted like a week or
You've
a
been
month.
sick. No, you've been sick
I've
for
been
like
sick for a
longer than a
while.
week. Oh my God. Yeah. And Maggie lost her voice. So we really like couldn't record
No.
because you wouldn't be able to hear Rachel. Or it would be
Yeah.
her coughing like every 30 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last time we had time to record, I was also sick again because when
Tough
I got back from
times.
our trip, I
Yeah.
could, and I just, and then you were going on a trip, which we'll get to. And yeah, so we're not sure what this episode is going to be like, guys, but
Yeah.
bear with
Really,
us.
like our idea, just to kind of get back in the groove, is we were going to talk about change. Because this is something that everyone goes through in life. We go through change, whether it's planned or unplanned. I've
hmm
been hit with both lately. Um, so that's why I have not been able to record. Just a lot of things going on my end. Some good, some I'm seeing the good, so it's fine.
hmm
All is cool here. All was not cool 2 weeks ago, but I'm getting better.
No,
I'm
no, it
coming
was not.
around. I'm coming around. Um, but yeah, I guess funny story. I was supposed to go on a trip to Miami, and the day I was flying there, a 1 in 1,000 year event occurred, which
hmm
caused all the airports to flood under 3 feet of water and shut down. Um, so
Talk about something not being meant to be.
Right? Right. And I was actually going to try again um, to go to this one event that is in New York in the fall.
Oh,
The event I just found out today has been canceled for this year.
oh,
And they'll reconvene next year. And I'm like, you know what? You know what? It just was not meant to be this year. All
they don't
right.
want you to be there.
No,
The
they do
world
not
is
want
just
me to be
like,
there.
you
So
have
I'm going to
other
try again
things.
next year. Um, so yeah, I'm not really sure if I'm going to take a holiday this year. I'm just going to, stay close to home.
Yeah, definitely that day, I texted you to ask, have you landed yet? And you write back a little bit later saying, landed. So I was just like, oh, she's in Miami. Meanwhile, guys, she was supposed to leave at like 2
Yeah.
p.m.
Yeah.
And
It was 9.
I didn't get a message saying landed until 9 o'clock. So I was just like, all right, so if something crazy has happened then. And then the next day I get a call at 9 a.m. And I'm just like, oh, this is weird. Why are you calling me? Because you're supposed to be off having fun. And she just goes, so I have a story for you. I am not in Miami. And I was like, then where are you? I thought you wound up in like the Midwest or something.
No. Well, I almost ended up in Jacksonville, Florida, because that was the airport that everything was being rerouted to.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily, I was only halfway into my flight.
Mm-hmm.
So we were still like closer to Toronto at
Mm-hmm.
that point, and everyone and the pilot's just like, you guys probably don't want to go to Jacksonville. We'll just take you home.
Yeah,
So it could have been worse. It
it
definitely
could
could
have
have
been.
been worse. And I didn't say anything for a little bit because it was a bit of like a wait and see
Mm-hmm.
of if they were going to like reschedule the flights and open up the airports.
Mm-hmm.
Funny thing is, so my return flight had been changed from one airport to another just because they had managed the flooding a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And my original flight leaving Toronto had been pushed to the following Monday. And I had to call the airline saying that, like, hey, like, I'm not on this flight. And this is the one for me to come back to Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, well, like, we can put you on another flight,
Oh
or,
my God.
why can't you make the flight? And I'm like, I never fucking made it to Miami. And they're like, oh, so do you want to reschedule the flight? I'm like, um, no,
No.
because I can't even get to Miami. And then again, like for the flight coming back the following Monday, or like sorry, going the one that was supposed to go to Miami,
Mm-hmm.
I said that I couldn't be on it, and they're like, "Well, why? We just changed the date so you could go." I'm like, "Because I fucking work for a living and can't just like take another week off, especially because the event is over." Like
Oh
it
my
was just,
God.
it was a whole thing, and I'm still in the process of getting all my money back. Um, so in the grand scheme of it, it was a pretty cheap trip. So I'm not like too heartbroken, but like I was disappointed like
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't get to go. But I'll try again next year. We'll
Yeah, but
see. We'll
also
see if we're two for two.
talk about the first time an airline has ever been helpful and you can't even go on the flights. They're just like, oh, we've rescheduled you. Oh, you can't make your home return flight? Okay, we can reschedule you. It's just like, wow, you guys are being so helpful. The one
Yeah.
time I actually am not traveling.
Right. I know. And like I'm all about, I know like some people they call customer service people and they like hit them with all they got. I'm a believer of the kill them with kindness
Mm-hmm.
because that usually gets me pretty far. So the airlines were actually being fantastic about it. And it's more just like, sorry, it takes like 6 to 8 weeks for you to get your money back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that the process hasn't been awful, but for those like 48 hours when I was like calling everything, being like, I'm not there. Okay, gotta cancel this. Like, I'm not like, don't be calling my name in the airport because I never made it there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, but all in all, they were pretty great about that. And things happen. Um, I came home safe. I was dry.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll try again next year, maybe. We'll see.
Well, there you go. There you go. So that's been one thing that's been happening.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
That was one delay to our recording.
Yeah. well, we touched on a big delay, which was I was on a trip the
Mm-hmm.
first week of April. So that's why so we obviously weren't recording then because it was a family ski trip, which was lovely. But then I came back sick and I was sick for probably like 4 days. Wasn't too bad, but I was like a very like, like stuffed up cold sick. So I probably you wouldn't have been able to hear me. And then when I started feeling better, you were leaving on your trip.
Yeah.
And then it was personal tax season, which is basically my life during the month of April at work. Plus, I had a final exam and a big group project that I wound up having to do by myself, all due within 2 weeks of each other, all during
Yeah.
personal tax season. I was barely holding it together to a point that when the adrenaline wore off, I've now been sick for more than a week.
Yeah, it's hanging in there. Everyone has this
Yeah.
like they all feel fine, but everyone has this awful cough
Mm-hmm.
that they just can't shake. Like I know so many people who were only like feeling crappy for a day or two,
Yep.
but they have no voice or it's like super gravelly and they're just like that dry cough.
Yep. On Sunday, or the most recent Sunday for us, I sounded like Timmy Turner from the Fairly Odd Parents. And people were
A little
laughing at
squeaky.
me. Yeah, one time I was with you and I just let out a little squeak once when
Yeah.
I think I was
Mid
saying like,
conversation,
"Why?"
you just like totally squeaked and cracked and then you were gone for a second and then you came back.
And you're like, "Did you leave for a
I'm
second?"
like,
I'm like,
are you okay?
"No."
I'm like, you went on mute there for a second.
I was not okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like as you can see. Um so I haven't like had like I wouldn't say I've had like big change in the last month and a half. It's just been very chaotic. And plus, just like, I feel like my life changes every 2 months with school because,
Yes.
like, one professor in one course will format it a certain way, and that's how you get used to doing it, and you circulate your life around it. And then you go to your next course, and your professor does it a completely different way. And you're like, all right, now I have to shift my schedule around again to accommodate this. And it's just a lot.
Yeah. And especially like that's a change that you know is coming, but you don't know what to expect. So you can
No.
like kind of plan, but until you're in it and it's happening to you, you really have to roll with it then.
Yeah.
And I know like once you kind of settle into your courses, you get more of a flow of how
Mm-hmm.
it should go. But yeah, when you first start out, and now this is what your fourth course that you're just starting now.
Yes.
So it's just like not even within the past year, like within the past 9 months, you've had to do this restart so much.
Yeah. And like, picture this like, all I know is when each course starts and ends. They don't release the course syllabus until 2 days before the course actually starts. So I have no idea what I am going into and how much work they're going to be to a point where like I was dreading that I was going to have like a midterm exam on our Taylor Swift concert night. And I wouldn't have been surprised if they did it. They thankfully did not, but
Lucky.
knowing this university experience, they absolutely would. And they would be like, you should have known in advance and planned accordingly.
But if you don't release the syllabus until 2 days before the course, that's kind of difficult.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, those that's kind of been my life. Just a lot of chaos. And like I feel like my immune system she needs to get her butt back in gear.
Yes, get that high strength vitamin C going.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure the last time we recorded, I probably announced that I was going to be moving. Um, I
Honestly,
think
I
that
don't
might have
even know
I
if
think
that
that
made it
might
into
have
an
been
episode that
March.
posted.
I don't even know if that one got posted. So since it's been a while, and we don't even know if that episode got posted because our platform that we used to record on, Zencaster, we don't know what happened, but we went to download some of our episodes and they just got deleted. Um, so one day there might be a couple lost episodes that get posted, but it's
Uh-huh.
okay. We're just rolling with it. It's fine. One of them was kind of controversial, so it's probably good that it did not
I
get
think the
posted.
universe was sticking up for us, you
We're
know?
taking it as a sign. We're going to take
Yes.
that as a sign. It did involve Taylor Swift, and we were a little scared of the Swifties coming after us for that one.
Yes.
It was all in a positive light of Taylor, though, just FYI, if you were curious. Maybe we'll re record that one at a later date,
Just less
especially because,
controversial.
well, we recorded it, and then literally 2 days after we recorded it and we were going to post it, her and Joe broke up, and we're just like,
Oh my
oh,
God.
shit, what did we say in that episode?
I'm pretty sure in
Um,
the episode too, we were like, but don't worry, guys. Taylor is happy with her
Taylor is
Joe.
good. She's in a happy relationship. Like we would have looked like losers posting that.
Yeah.
So probably a good thing that that episode got deleted. But anyway, I think it was in that one I might have talked about me moving. Like
Mm-hmm.
my boyfriend and I, we now live up north full time. We have been here for 2 weeks now.
Very exciting. I'm
We're
very
so
happy about it.
excited. Yes. So this was a big change that was planned, obviously. It happened fast, but this is one that like I was definitely manifesting for a long time, and everything kind of fell into place. But with that being said, it's still change.
Mm-hmm.
So, new dynamics, new environment. It's still a little scary, and you have to take the time to feel it out and feel settled in the space. So that's where I find like people who have change that's planned, you still have to give yourself grace because
Mm-hmm.
it's still new. Even though, like with your course, you know what's going to happen, it's still different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Honestly, every single time I start the new course, I just cry
Yeah.
for a few
And you know
days.
what? I think I cried my first day here, and like not sad
There you
tears.
go.
It wasn't even sad tears. It was just like, oh my God, this is change. This is
Yeah.
different. Like I'm out of my box. I'm out of my comfort zone. Right.
Yeah.
And so like it's taken us a few days just to kind of find our groove. This week I find that we're a lot more settled
Mm-hmm.
and just comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of have our place like figured out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But it just takes time.
Yeah. Well, especially too with like the change of moving.
Yes.
And like
Moving is stressful.
I've moved to a bunch of different places. And even though like, well, we've talked about this before amongst ourselves, but I've moved to a lot of apartments with roommates.
Mhm.
And when I started seeing my partner, who obviously we've been living together for about 2 years now, um, I had spent probably like 3 or 4 days a week at his place before we moved in together. And I was just like, you know what? I know what this guy is like, and I know what living with this guy is like. But an important thing that I hadn't considered then was like, I was over there, but he was still at his parents' house because it was during COVID time.
Mhm.
So it was like I knew how he lived, but in a house with two other people, sometimes three other people. And it was a very different dynamic when it was just the two of us in like our own house, and that we had to furnish and maintain and keep clean and all of this stuff. That definitely the first week that we lived together, I was just like, oh my God, if you leave one more cupboard open, I'm going to cry.
And you have moments of like, what have I done?
You're like, I have to live
What
with a boy
can I
alone.
take this back? Did I make a mistake? And yeah, no, I remember your first little bit living together. It's so different, right? And even with us, like we have been together for almost 10 years, and we've lived together for 3 years prior to this. The difference is like we were at his mother's house, right? Different dynamic, different relationships. And now we are in our own place. And again, new dynamic for us to figure out, because it's just like, oh my God, like we're actually adults doing
Mm-hmm.
this on our own. And we're very happy. I love this dynamic. Actually, I'm pretty happy with it. Um, but again, it's different from what we've been doing for the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, I keep going back to it, but one of those big dynamics is you're just suddenly like, oh my God, this is like a really large space that I am now responsible for cleaning the entire thing.
Yes.
That's always, I don't know. For some reason, whenever I move into a new place, I'm just like, Now, how does the cleaning have to work? And then you get a little overwhelmed, but then you get into a nice pattern and it's all good.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like really just like finding your pattern and then um finding thing that's like a comfort to
Hmm.
you, right? Like I think we hold ourselves to this pressure to adopt a new routine and new habits. And human nature does not really allow that. Like,
Hmm.
and you need to be okay with it. Like if you kind of need to figure out like, okay, I'm going to be okay with this mess over here, but this one over here, like that's really important to me. I want that to be like a certain way. And it's a give
Hmm.
and take, right? And especially when you're living with another person,
Hmm.
you have to find that middle ground. My boyfriend and I, we still fight on that middle ground sometimes, but we are much better than when we first started out. And there's some things like I've just had to let go. And I'm being like, you know what? Why? Like it bothers just me. Why am I stressing myself out so much over it? And is it really a big deal? You know,
Hmm.
those are the questions I ask myself because I know I can be a little like obsessive over things.
Hmm.
And then when I think of how I actually live, I'm just like, wow, I can't even hold myself to that standard. So, like, I shouldn't hold someone else to that either.
Listen, listen. Same. I'm like,
I feel
oh
like we're
my God.
exposing everyone right now.
It's like, oh my God, why is the counter dirty? Like, have you seen the inside of my car?
Right. I know. I love that you say that because I'm like always like, "Oh, the kitchen needs to be spotless. Like, I didn't just make dinner and leave fucking everything everywhere. And I think
Exactly.
if you hear any banging in the background, I'm pretty sure he's cleaning the kitchen right now. Like, double standards, man, double standards.
I know, but we are the perfect ones, Laura.
Exactly.
It's our show.
I
No one
make
can
no
cancel
mess.
us.
I do no wrong.
Exactly. You're the perfect queen.
Exactly.
But I think too, just because I think moving is just such a perfect realm to dance around in when it comes to change.
Yeah. And I feel
But
like that's something that like everyone in our age group is
can
facing a
relate to.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'd love to just talk about this as well because you have just experienced it and I experienced it a few years ago. But the change of moving from either a town or a
Hmm.
city in particular
Hmm.
to a rural area, and well, both of us, we live in the middle of freaking nowhere.
I have to go stand outside on a hill to get cell service.
Exactly. Exactly. And just like the change around that. Cause like I remember I went from a city apartment to this place and I lived on like a fairly busy street that like I listened to multiple car accidents happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like one morning I just woke up and I literally heard somebody just get in a car accident. I was like, "What? Oh my God." We're coming here like I hear nothing.
You're
I
nothing.
hear the cow that's like a mile down the road because it's so quiet. And it's a little bit disconcerting. Even though like I've always like I lived in the country as a child, so like I'm very used to it. Like I fell into it very easily. But just like some days, especially like when you're by yourself, you're like, I like being by myself, but I am very by myself
Yeah.
right now. It's a bit scary.
Yeah, no, it's definitely when you are changing environments. And like I kind of have a similar example. So we were living in the city. Um, my boyfriend pretty much grew up there. And for me, like I grew up in the country, but more in town. Now we are in the country. And for me, like I'm pretty adaptable to my space, but there are a few things where I have to pre-plan a little bit because it's not like the grocery store is 2 minutes down the road anymore. It's like 15 minutes one
Mm-hmm.
direction down a hill.
Mm-hmm.
So I found the first week I was doing a lot of driving back and forth, and it was for multiple reasons, but um, it was just like, man, I feel like all I do is drive back and forth up and down a hill. And it was a little bit that lack of planning because I've never really had to do it. Like if you just like, oh, I'm out of this like cheese, I need cheese. I get in the car, I drive 2 minutes down the road and I'm back in five, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, So that's definitely a change. And then for my partner, like coming from the city to the country, big change for him. He loves it.
Hmm.
He's definitely meant to be in the country, but still, our first week we didn't have internet. We barely had cell service. It was like trying and not having those like modern conveniences that for him it's just like always right there. And
Hmm.
like you always have good cell service or stuff like that. So like that was pretty hard for him at first to kind of adjust until we had those other things set up and going. Um, so yeah, even though this was change that we wanted, he was feeling like just a little bit like, oh my God, what have I done?
Hmm.
Like, I was just like looking in his eyes. I'm like, don't question it. Don't question it. You're fine. Um, week two, we're doing better. We're doing better week two. But yeah, so it's just kind of like you can have all the preparation, but there's still going to be those things that just set you off and they make you second guess. But then you just have to remember your end goal and what you want to accomplish and achieve.
Hmm.
And you accept that this is part of the process, it's part of growth, and you find ways to adapt to the change.
Hmm. Yeah, because like I like what you said about just this making way for your growth
Mm-hmm.
as a person and like growth within your relationships and just your interests and everything. Because just change, it can just be seen as a way of like you're just moving to a new space, whether that's a physical space, an energetic space, whatever. You're just kind of clearing out the old
Yes.
and saying, okay, I want to experience life through different eyes and grow from there and see who I am in this new place,
Mm-hmm.
especially because it's pushing me towards my end goals of where I want to go next.
Exactly, exactly. And I think another big change that comes with moving, and I'm sorry, we didn't really mean to like be stuck on this, but I
It's a
feel like
good
it's
one. It's a
applicable
good
because
one.
yeah, like people our age, they move for jobs, they move for love, they move for multiple like housing prices, rental prices. There's so many reasons why, and I feel like it's just something we've all touched on. Um, Another thing my partner's been like championing at is developing a new community. Like
Oh,
for
I'm not good at
me,
that.
for me, this move was me coming back to my community,
Hmm.
right? Like all my friends are here, my family is here, my horses are here. Where for him, he left his family, he left his friends, and like he does know people up here, but I'm the tether, right?
Hmm.
And for him, he didn't he didn't hide into his shell and just be like, oh, well, I'm just gonna stay at home and like do whatever. He's like, no, I'm going out to because he got a new job too. So like
Hmm.
this man has been very good at change. We applaud him. We love him
He is
so
coping
much,
phenomenally.
so much, so much. He's great. He is fantastic. So yeah, he has a new job and he was kind of lucky before he started, like he got to know the crew a little bit and start to form some relationships. And he's just trying to be that like he is very sociable. He's one of those extrovert people.
Hmm.
I would struggle. Um, so he's being involved at work. They asked him if he wanted to be on a committee, and he's like, yeah, like I'll for sure do that. And so he got to meet like more people within the departments. Um, and he's decided that he wants to volunteer at the local food bank. Um, and through that, like the guy he works with, the guy who's the coordinator, their neighbors and their friends. So it's all this like small town web that's coming
Hmm.
together. And he wants to play hockey. So they're all just like, oh yeah, well, this is the guy you talk to for hockey. So he is just going out there and asking the questions and just being open to joining in. And I feel like that's a very hard thing, especially the older you get, the harder it is to join in because we just want to be like comfortable. And
Hmm.
especially if you're an introvert, it's very difficult. But you kind of have to break out and decide, like, you know what, I'm going to take up tennis, right? Or
Hmm.
I'm going like the bridge club. Um, you just have to step out and just try something. You don't even have to like it. Just get out there, see who you meet, see if you have fun, and do all the different things, right? Like do it through work, do it through volunteering, activities, community events. And that is just how you become more settled in the space that you are. And then
Mm-hmm.
before you know it, you have new friendships, right? Like he's already got people to watch the hockey game with. He's lived here less than 2 weeks.
Okay, why is this man gonna have more friends than both of us collectively
I'm pretty sure
in
he
the
already does.
place in the
I'm like, I don't
place where
know how
we
you did
grew
this.
up?
I'm like, you've gone to work 4 days. You have more friends than anyone.
My God, I'm
Yeah, he's a
jealous.
friendly sort, though.
He is a friend, all the
We could
power
all we
to
could all
him.
take a page.
We could, but I couldn't. I admire it though from afar. I'm like, that's impressive. You guys follow his footsteps. Don't follow
Yeah,
ours.
yeah. That's why I had to use his as an example to
Hmm.
see. I'm like, I have no example. I've known the same people, and that granted, I do like know lots of people,
Yeah.
but my core group, I'm like, I have known you all for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, so that is change that you can expect.
Hmm.
Rachel, do you have any other expecting changes?
Uh, Not really. No, no. I think that was really the main one.
Perfect. All right. So we've done the change that you know is coming. Maybe you plan for it. Then there's also the change that you don't plan for.
Hmm.
And it can be something that's far off that's going to change for you, or it can be a big surprise. And all of a sudden, um, right around that week before I was set to move, I had a very big unexpected change. And I'm sorry, I'm really not allowed to talk in detail about it, but it is something that has been a part of my life for almost 3 decades.
Hmm.
Um, and it's something that no one ever saw coming. So essentially, it was like kind of my whole world got rocked,
Hmm.
and it's just very unexpected, very much an unknown. And I'm still kind of in that phase of unknown, but I am trying to see more of the opportunity with this change. Um, because I have to. Like, it's literally like, if I refuse this, that's not going to get me anywhere. So I
Hmm.
have to see the light because that is how I'm going to move forward and not be bitter about anything or sad. Um, so, yeah, I find if you're hit with the unexpected, I think everyone says, like, oh, like you need to be strong, you need to push through. And part of me think that's kind of a load of crap because
Hmm.
I think you need to feel the emotions, feel the sadness, feel the pain,
Hmm.
and literally cry your eyes out.
Hmm.
And no matter how long that takes, it's a grieving process, right? Especially if this was unexpected and there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Hmm.
Um, you have to let yourself feel those emotions. It's not healthy to keep them bottled up. And, if you feel better, talk to someone about it. If you don't, and you just need to be alone, be alone. Um, do whatever you need to do to process it. Because I find before you can think clearly, you need to get the emotions out. And when I kind of was hit with the news of my change, um, I cried all the way home,
Hmm.
all pretty much all through the night and the next day. Um, by that point, I was like, okay, I don't think I'm like constantly crying, but like anytime I'd think about it, I would get emotional.
Hmm.
And I was trying to work towards the uh, the point where I could talk to someone about it, and just the thought of it, like I would totally break down again. So it took me a solid week, maybe week and a half.
It was a week and a
How long
half.
ago did I tell you? It was
It
a week
was
and a
a
half,
week.
right?
It was a week ago.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
Yeah.
it took me almost 2 weeks
Hmm.
to be able to talk to someone about it. And that's okay. All right.
Hmm.
There is no timeline. For me personally, I'm someone who needs to process things and get a plan before I can talk to people about it. And that is just me personally. Maybe you're someone who needs to talk it out to get a plan. I'm like, I need to get all the emotions out so I can think clearly, and then I can come to people. Um, yeah, so that just took a lot of time. I'm now at a point where I can talk about it just fine, um, because I've processed it and I'm dealing with like the possibilities and the opportunities that this is actually going to present.
Mm-hmm.
So before, where I saw this as a very stressful negative thing, um, I can now see the potential in it. And when I'm talking to people, I tell them about those opportunities. And I'm like, oh, isn't it going to be so great when? And that is literally like, and I'm still sad. Like it's something that I'll always be kind of sad about, but I can't focus on that. And when I talk about the sad stuff, that's when like I keep getting really upset and negative.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, I kind of just try to talk about the positive things with people.
Mm-hmm.
And as I get more and more of a solid plan, I have been feeling better. And I find sometimes with change, it's the unknown that scares us the most.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was first processing, I'm like, I have no idea what to do. I had no idea what I was going to do. Um, but now that like I have a couple of plans, nothing is solid yet. So this is why I'm still a little shaky about the whole thing. But at least like once I have things solidified, I'm gonna be like, okay, now I'm gonna like I'm gonna look forward to this. All
Mm-hmm.
right, maybe something is ending in my life, but look what's opening up. So that's kind of like my tip when you have those surprise things. You have to find the opportunity in it. And it's hard. It's very
Mm-hmm.
hard to find those things, and it might take you a very long time. But again, you have to be able to adapt, right? Because life is just going to keep going. Um, and you don't really want to spend your time and your life like dwelling on
Mm-hmm.
things. You kind of need to take that active stance and have a plan and be like, okay, here's how I'm going to pick myself up and continue on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my
Yeah, I
unexpected
might.
change. Rachel, I know that kind of hit you as well
Oh yeah.
in
I'm
another way.
it did. It did.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll be able
just
to talk about it soon. I just can't really on the pod.
we'll have coping with change part two where we can both
Yeah,
actually talk about it because I feel like I can't elaborate on it too much because I feel like people would figure it out otherwise.
yeah.
But I can kind of spring off of that a little bit with
Mhm.
like an unexpected change that hasn't like really affected me personally, but has.
Right.
And that's just the like change around your family.
Mm.
So this is really great news, but I'm
Yes.
going to be an aunt this
Yes.
year, which is very, very exciting. I am super pumped up about it, and I'm so excited for us to have a new little baby in the family. But definitely, like, I've been having some feelings
Hmm.
around it, just at different stages, like, when we found out, and then versus like when we found out, like, what the sex will be, blah 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 blah, where I keep having this feeling at all these stages of holy fuck, everything is going to be different
Hmm.
now. And not like, not in this big way, like, and not in like a bad way, not no way that's going to be
Hmm.
like rocking the core of our family. Like, it's a very nice way that things are going to be different, but it's one of those changes where when you think about it, you're like, oh, like for instance, this just because we found out in January, the initial thought I had in the car when I looked to talk to my partner about it was I was just like, our last Christmas, we didn't know it, but that is going to be the last Christmas we ever have with just me and my siblings, my parents,
Hmm.
and the partners. Like that generation of us being like the kids, like that's over.
Yeah, now
now.
it's like the next generation is starting. And I've kind of gone through this already with my family. It's so exciting to have kids at holidays.
Hmm.
And I know like we were talking about this just the other day of like Christmas is going to be different, Easter is going to be different. There's going to be like birthdays that are different.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's kind of one of those things where like you didn't know that was the last time until it
Hmm.
was the last time. Um, but I'm glad you kind of brought up an unexpected but happy change, right?
Hmm.
Because not all change is like kind of shocking and bad. But yeah, no, it's one of those like wild rides of just like, oh my God, you kind of
Hmm.
look forward and it's so hard to picture right now, because we just went through this kind of last year, but not really. But it was just like there were no babies around the Christmas tree. Now there
Hmm.
are babies around the Christmas tree, but it's kind of like this refreshing injection of energy
Hmm.
that comes to it because like having a kid around the Christmas tree or like at any type of like Easter or whatever holiday, Halloween,
It's
um,
just fun.
it's so much fun. It's so much fun because I find like when you hit your 20s, 30s, and like you haven't, like, you just don't have anyone in your family or friends or yourself who's in that kid stage yet, it's kind of like, oh, okay, like another holiday, kind of stuff like that.
Hmm.
But then when you start getting that next generation that's so excited, that lives for these holidays and these days,
Hmm.
it's a blast. And it's just one of those like meta things though,
I
where you're
know.
just like, there's gonna be another person coming.
It's
Like,
crazy. And I
who are
mean,
they? Who is this person that I'm gonna have to get to know?
I know. And I mean, like at this Christmas, like there is the baby will be like a blob
Yes.
because it's like full on newborn stage.
Yeah.
But like it's just kind of like, like we were having fun talking about like, oh, who's going to be the person that reads like the night before Christmas
Yeah.
to the
Oh, like
baby in our new
now the
generation.
traditions get to continue, right? Because I feel like a lot of the traditions pause a little bit
Hmm.
when kids get older, but then when the new like the grandkids start coming in, all those
Hmm.
traditions they like get put right back in.
Yeah,
And I don't know, it makes you think about like when you were a kid. And I don't know, I think it's a great way. Like the family just comes together.
it does. And honestly, like I've noticed it's a very humbling change. Like even though nothing's really changed yet, the baby is not here,
Mhm.
but like family dynamics change where you're like, and I mean, I really want to be involved in their life and be around my sibling as this happens and such. But like it really changes from being like, oh, like it's all about us and our
Mhm.
lives and what we're doing. And let's all just like, we're living very selfishly, which is right. That's a
Yeah.
good thing. But suddenly you're like, oh, there's going to be a new small human that needs to be kept safe.
Mhm.
And that is kind of becoming the most important thing.
Yeah,
And that's
it's the
just
new focus,
it's a
right?
weird transition. So I'm still dealing with it and I'm sure it'll like unfold over time. But just even like sometimes like I would go to call my mom with an issue and I'm like, you know, I could kind of deal with this myself. I don't need to bother her with it.
Right.
It's just I feel it's just making my mindset shift to more uh I I like to think I'm mature already, but a more mature state
Mhm.
where I just don't take a lot of things as seriously as I did before because it just
Yeah.
seems so much smaller compared to what's happening. So that's what my unexpected change has been, which is nice because I feel like I've had a lot of unexpected changes over the past like 5 or 6 years that have been really like traumatic and hard. So I'm good that it's like a nice positive one. We're heading into positivity.
Yes, yes. And you have to think about like everyone in the family dynamic, like they are all taking on a new role now.
Hmm.
So in like we kind of have been taking this role on for the past couple of years, um, with my boyfriend's siblings and my siblings as well as like kids are born, you're just like, whoa, I'm an aunt now. how do I want to be viewed as the aunt? Like you have to kind of like develop this new persona
Mhm.
of how you want to interact with this new kid.
I
It's
feel
a
like
lot of
I'm
fun.
gonna I feel like I'm gonna be going to the zoo a lot more.
Oh, it's great. I love it. Like whenever our niece wants to sit down and watch like a movie, I'm like,
I
chances are
am
it's a Disney movie
with
and I am
you.
there. Yeah. Yeah. She wanted to watch like Spirit the one day and I was like, oh, I'm coming.
I
Like,
love it. I can't
yep.
wait to have a moment. This is a funny memory that I have, but we would always go to Canada's Wonderland as a
Oh,
family
yes.
growing up with our cousins and stuff. That I hope that happens
Mhm.
as, ideally as there's more kids in the family, so we're not just like this one child. We are all going to Wonderland with you, just you, but just like I just want to see when we go to like Wonderland as a family with the kids, which sibling is going to be the one that can't ride the roller coasters anymore.
Right.
Because for us, it was my dad.
Oh.
He couldn't do it.
Hmm.
But with the three of, I'm just like, who's it going to be? I feel like it's going to be me. I can't handle the
Probably.
spinning anymore. It's too much.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. But just think of like, remember when you got to do all of those firsts and like go to the zoo for the first time, go to Canada's Wonderland for the first time, and like all the other things? Now you get to do it again vicariously through your nieces and nephews. So much fun coming forward. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah. So even with like all this change, it's all going to be exciting. And that's kind of where my mindset is right now.
I'm with you.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, that's kind of been a rough update of what's been going on with us for the past couple of months and what's kind of coming up in the near future.
Hopefully things calm down. Hopefully we just ride out the change.
Yeah. Hopefully summer, calm down a little bit. Anyway, we are happy to be back. We're going to
Yes,
hopefully be recording again a little bit more consistent now that like I'm settled in my new place and Rachel's kind of like through tax season and all that.
trying
So
to survive.
yeah, we've
Yeah.
got lots of exciting things coming up. And if you enjoyed this episode and you have a friend or a family member who is going through a lot of change and you think maybe some of our advice would be helpful, please share it with them because it helps us out so much when you guys share the episodes and definitely when you leave reviews as well. So you can leave us a 5-star review and a nice little comment on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Yes. And if you would like to contact us directly, you can do so at our email, which is teawithlaurarachele@gmail.com.
Yes, and Rachel has an E at the end, just in case no
Thank
one knew
you.
that. And it's also in the name of
Maybe
our title.
people have been trying to email us
It's your freaking
and
name.
oh my God. Oh my God. I what if we're actually like super popular by email, but it's because of my name?
Probably getting all these bounce backs. Um, yeah, so definitely just look at the title of our show. You'll see the special spelling for Rachel. And it's not Raquel, as my phone likes to call her.
It's fine. You can call me Raquel if you want to.
Raquel. I think that's everything from us tonight. Thank you so, so much for listening. And we can't wait to be back again next week. And with that, live like tea.
Live like tea.